Thank you for your interest in the Dialogues on the Experience of War grant program. I am Victoria Sams, Program Officer in NEH's Division of Education Programs, and along with Program Analyst Mariam Moazi, we form the Dialogues on the Experience of War program team. You may find it helpful to begin by downloading the current Notice of Funding Opportunity, which we call a NOFO, which is available on the resource page. Just below the videos on the resource page, along with other helpful materials and information on how program staff can help you with applying, we will mention particular sections and page numbers of these documents in the videos.
This series of 3 webinars will introduce you to the Dialogues Grant Program and the application and review process. Part 1 in the first video will describe the purpose of the program, what Dialogues projects do, and the forms they might take. Part 2 will introduce you to the program requirements and walk you through the Notice of Funding Opportunity, or NOFO. In that video, we will also offer tips for preparing a successful application. Part 3 will guide you through the application submission process, including such steps as preparing your budget and other key components of the application via grants.gov. Please remember that you're always welcome to reach out to us at dew@neh.gov with any questions about this grant program and the application process.
It might be helpful to know the backstory to this grant program. The Dialogues on the Experience of War grant program was created in 2015 when the veteran and active duty military populations in the United States were undergoing demographic, experiential, and generational changes and facing challenges that were starting to gain public recognition. NEH had launched an endowment-wide initiative in 2014 to support humanities projects that explored the meaning and experiences of war and military service. Dialogues on the Experience of War began as an outgrowth of that initiative and continues NEH's support for its educational mission to enhance Americans' understanding of the experiences of service members as they return to civilian life. As indicated in this slide, the Dialogues on the Experience of War grant program's essential purpose is to enable veterans and others to consider their own experiences within the broader context and perspectives that humanities inquiry, methods, and resources can provide. To this end, Dialogues grants support in-person, virtual, and hybrid format projects that build a community or communities of inquiry to enhance veterans and non-veterans' understanding of diverse experiences of military service and war through professional development and through guided group discussions of humanities sources.
These are the required parts of a Dialogues project. Dialogues projects have the following required components: a program to prepare selected individuals to lead humanities-based discussions that focus on representations and experiences of war and military service. And two or more discussion programs that convene small groups of veterans or non-veterans and veterans for a series of discussions facilitated by trained discussion leaders.
Now that you understand the basic requirements of all Dialogues projects, you may wonder, what is the secret sauce that makes these components work well together? These are some of the central elements of Dialogues projects. Number one, and perhaps most important, is the creation of a thematic focus and program of study for the group discussions that would support interactive exploration and sustained recursive discussion of humanities questions and sources about the experiences of military service and war. The possible foci for a successful dialogues project vary enormously, as you will see from the featured projects and sample proposal narratives. Often they build on the particular strengths of the applicant organization or project team members, and they respond to particular needs or objectives for their intended participants. You might work for an art museum or a military history archive, or you might be a philosophy professor planning to partner with your college's Veterans Center. You might be an oral historian with strong ties to local veteran organizations. The discussion programs should offer a series of connected discussions to 2 or more small groups of participants. Each participant group would attend all sessions in the series, and these sessions should be of sufficient length and cohesiveness to build a depth of understanding, community, and trust among their participants. A discussion group may be smaller or larger than 15 participants, but they should allow for a breadth of viewpoints and for full engagement and interaction among its members. The discussion series can run simultaneously with 2 or more parallel groups. Some projects have run the discussion series consecutively, allowing time for reflection and refinement of the program after a first pilot run. The preparatory program component is consistent with the emphasis of NEH's Education Programs Division on a train the trainer model of professional development programs and on the cultivation of intellectual community amongst its participants. As you can see, preparatory programs are designed to train individuals to lead discussion programs, both by developing their understanding of a breadth of veterans' experiences and by building their capacity to facilitate humanities-based discussions. This program can serve pre-selected individuals or can recruit a group to be trained.
Dialogues projects may have a variety of purposes and objectives and audiences, as this list of possibilities suggests. Bridge programs for veterans seeking to further or resume their education. Community discussion series hosted by veterans organizations or cultural institutions such as museums or theaters. Graduate courses that train students to lead discussions on campus or in the local community. Seminars for members of the public. Reading and discussion programs for veterans and others in the justice system or in the group housing. Discussion series focused on local historical collections, memorial sites, film series or exhibitions. The formats that dialogues projects take also vary widely. Preparatory programs can range from a 2-day intensive workshop to train discussion leaders to a semester-long or even a 1-year university course. They can be offered virtually or in person. Similarly, discussion programs can engage their participants in meaningful discussions in a variety of ways, whether as 2-week bridge programs for veterans returning to college, as a series of weekend or day-long convenings, as weekly seminars held in person or online, or as monthly gatherings. Programs can also take place in a variety of places: libraries, community centers, VA hospitals, theaters, prison facilities, and educational institutions have been host venues for dialogues programs.
And when all the elements come together, successful dialogues projects often do the following. For participants, they can build understanding of their own and others' experiences of war and military service. The humanities-based discussions can foster reflection and self-reflection, fuller understanding of the diversity of experiences of war and military service, and deeper connections among veterans and non-veterans. For discussion leaders, they can enhance the understanding of veterans' experiences and the humanities and build leadership and facilitation skills. They can establish or deepen partnerships among community organizations or colleagues across a community. They can form or strengthen connections among veterans and between veterans and non-veterans for discussion facilitators and participants alike. And further, for all, they can create meaningful educational experiences and offer pathways to further education or cultural participation. But don't take our word for it. It makes more sense to let the project directors and the participants have the last word or words. In this example, Touchstone Discussions Project has run 2 dialogues projects in 2017 and 2019. In their reflection on the initial run of the program, the project directors had this to say. One of the most compelling outcomes from the NEH-funded Completing the Odyssey programs in 2017 and 2018 was a realization amongst most participants that their particular experiences must be understood within a greater social context. This program is based on the recognition gained in the first program that a home is not merely a place, but an environment that must be created by the returning veterans and those who remained. Quoting a veteran participant from the program, this director concluded that his statement was a watershed moment for the group. It shed light on an essential element within the process of coming home. Returning to community necessarily requires civilians at the table, listening, speaking, and learning from and with their fellow citizens how to build a new home where everyone has a place. In the next slide, another of their participants shared his thoughts on the experience of completing the Odyssey. I view the program as twofold. This participant first explained that the discussion program is not about veterans telling their war stories. In fact, several of the pilot program members were not deployed in a combat zone as such, but takes a more global focus on the issues encountered when a service member returns from an absence caused by military service. Our discussions covered such topics as how we define home when discussing our homecomings, what changes are encountered upon return, both in the service member and in those who stayed behind as well as the physical surroundings one remembered leaving, and who is a service member and what calls someone to military service. He continued to share his view of the program, as indicated in the quote on the slide. I view the program as twofold. One, it explores legitimate issues faced by veterans and family and friends upon return from service. And two, it provides the opportunity for personal development in terms of collaborative skills through a series of weekly discussions with a group of strangers, initially, who over time come to share many of their private thoughts and experiences to enhance the development of that program's main topic, that of completing the journey home. After more than 46 years of silence since my return from Vietnam, I found a voice and a venue to express my thoughts about military service and my personal homecoming through a shared dialogue with other veterans, both young and old.
This 2017 Dialogues project offered weekend discussion programs in venues throughout the state of Nevada, led by trained veteran and non-veteran discussion leaders, with a focus on literature and film about women in military service. Here, the participant says, I didn't feel a part of the community. Most of the experiences discussed were very different from my own. It reminded me that the military is not a monolith, and we all are impacted in different ways through our experiences. Having empathy for different experiences is very helpful in the journey of healing for me. We all suffer in different ways, but we are connected. We are a connected community now helping to process that.
Successful dialogues projects involve a combination of a well-defined humanities approach and thematic focus, careful planning and collaborative work amongst project partners, and an understanding of and a responsiveness to the strengths and needs of the prospective facilitators and participants. Dialogues projects have many features that differ greatly from one project to another, but they share these essential elements. Keep in mind that these projects began as ideas and then developed into proposals, and that these elements and best practices have been developed, shaped, and tested over time. NEH encourages all applicants, but especially those creating a new dialogues project, to consider tailoring the scale and the timing of their program to allow for planning, preparation, piloting, and reflecting on their programs. In these quotes, you can see some reactions from some participants in a Providence Clemente Veterans Initiative program. They have run 2 dialogues projects in 2019 and 2023. I will read the quotes. This is from an anonymous participant. I was motivated by the opportunity to connect with other veterans and employ the humanities as a means to understand our military experiences. I benefited from the course in a number of ways. It helped me gain a better understanding of my military service and enabled me to view that service from a perspective that stretches back millennia, yet has commonality with the difficulties that veterans continue to experience today. It provided support for my mental health during a difficult time, and it offered the opportunity to build new relationships with other veterans. It brought out creativity that has been dormant in me for many, many years. It educated me, and it serves as an encouragement for me to pursue further education in the humanities. And another quote from a participant named Dennis. In the PCVI, we read Plato. Plato gives us the allegory of the cave, where 2 philosophers talk about someone who has walked out of the darkness into the glaring light of reality. Veterans have seen some of this harsh reality and learned some painful lessons about themselves, their friends, and the cruelties of the wide world, some that leave scars. Perhaps the most valuable gift we have to give to our civilian communities is to share those scars so that our communities can grow stronger. Plato would have us go back into the darkness of that cave and share what we've learned. On that note, after we've shared what we've learned, we hope that you will not hesitate to reach out to the Dialogues team at dew@neh.gov when any questions at any stage of your process. Here are some additional useful details and dates to keep in mind. We thank you for your interest in the Dialogues on the Experience of War program and for listening this far.